Welcome to the Real Estate Show on WGBF AM with your host, Charlie Butler. This is where you'll learn to sell your home quickly and for more money. And now, the host of the Real Estate Show, the guy who guarantees to sell your home or he'll buy it himself, Charlie Butler.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. This is the Charlie Butler Real Estate Show, and I'm Charlie Butler, along with right here with Evie Barr.
Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
I'm great this Sunday morning. Evie, how you doing?
I am wonderful. Ready to enjoy a day off.
Yeah, that's always good. That's always a good thing. Have some football and all that good stuff.
Yeah, gotta love my Sunday football. Go Colts.
So how's everything going in the mortgage world this last week?
I feel like things are still going great. We've got a lot of pre-qualifications, people calling in for applications. Everybody seems to be looking for homes right now, and they're pretty serious buyers. How are you seeing the market going right now with listings?
Well, again, with listings, that's still a challenge. The listings are not nowhere near they need to be, and people are wanting to buy. We have, as you know, I know just from our team, you're approving a bunch of people, and I'm sure you're pre-approving a bunch of people out there. And there's just not a lot for them to buy right now.
Right. And I've had quite a few people over the past few weeks that they find that perfect house and they're getting into bidding wars still.
Yes. And that's still not to the extent that it was, but it's still going. I mean, it's still not unusual to have a couple offers. And the thing is, if you find that house, and you say you want to think about it, and nothing wrong. I understand it's a big, big decision, but don't think about it too long because we've had several people here lately that they found what they thought was their dream home, but they wanted to think about it for a couple of days, and it was gone. And right now, the offers are pretty well full price right now too. Yeah,
I seem to have quite a few buyers that are still wanting to lowball the sellers.
And we do too. Yeah. I think we always will have that.
Yes. But coming in 20 to 30,000, I don't think you can necessarily do in this market if it's $200,000 purchase price.
Yeah. That's even. You see. But the only time that ever works, it doesn't work that often anymore with them, is investors that do it with banks. And the difference is when an investor's buying a property from a bank, there's really not any emotion there on either side.
Right.
The bank is selling it because they just not in the business owning properties.
Right.
And the investor's buying it at X price because at that price he can make money.
Yes.
And so if it doesn't work out on either side, that's fine. But you can't really do that to someone who's put their heart and soul and their sweat into the house because, many times you're going to offend them. And
sure.
I hear this all the time. People say, well, we'll start low like that, but I'm willing to come up. Well, that's fine if you want to start a little low, but if you start so low where you insult them, you may never get the chance to come up.
Right. Everybody's home is their castle, even wherever they're selling it. So they want the highest dollar out of it.
And Evie, that's why they hire you and I both on the mortgage side and on the real estate side, is because so many people in our businesses get emotionally involved.
Yes.
And they wind up actually just making the sale much more difficult.
Right.
Because the buyer always thinks they're paying too much. Seller always thinks they're giving it away.
Yes.
So there is emotion there because, here you got a seller who they always think their house is a nice house in the neighborhood. Many times it is, but even if it's nice, it's worth what the market says it's worth.
Yes.
And then you've got a buyer who this is in many cases the biggest financial purchase transaction they've ever made. They're nervous. They want to make sure they're getting a good buy. So there is a lot of emotion in between those two. So I really think it's our job to stay a little bit, I'm not saying be cold, but stay a little detached.
Correct. Correct. And I really think that anyone looking to buy or sell a home, they need a realtor involved to be the professional who knows the ins and outs of the contract and how to protect the buyer or the seller. From the buyer's point of view, they also need a mortgage lender there to walk them through the process for financing purposes, but just to get the deal done as quickly as possible and to know the ins and out of what programs are best for them.
No, you're absolutely right, and they really need both the mortgage professional and the realtor in there because, and just caution people, and I'm not saying this about anybody, but unfortunately we hear this. I'm sure you hear this in your profession. I hear it in mine, where someone on the realtor side, they will be giving mortgage advice,
yes,
on whether it's a good deal or not. And that's, to me, that's just like, a big no-no. They're out there giving legal advice or accounting advice. They don't have a license for any of those things. And on the flip side, every once in a while you hear the mortgage broker saying, well, I don't think your realtor's doing a good job here. I don't think this house is worth this. And they haven't seen the house or anything. They just, so both sides really need to do what they're good at.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot to each profession, whether you're a realtor, mortgage lender, appraiser, title company, that, our professions cannot step over those lines because, like you said, we're not licensed in those things. I essentially have been in the mortgage business for 15 years. I kind of grew up around real estate with having family in the real estate, but no matter what I think about something regarding the contract or anything the realtor might handle, it's not my place to say what I think. You've always got to direct the people right back to the professional that's they're doing.
Absolutely. And the Charlie Butler team, always glad to help you, whether it be buyers or sellers. And you can reach my team. If you're looking to buy a home, call 812-430-1708. If you're looking to list your home, remember, we are the home of if we can't sell it, we'll buy it, along with several other programs like our performance guarantee, where you can fire us at any time in the contract. So for the listing agents, it's 812-449-0050. And of course, we'll be referring people to Evie. But if someone already has another realtor, we're certainly not trying to step on that realtor's toes. But if they're just looking right now, Evie, and they haven't been pre-approved yet, how they get a hold of you?
They can give me a call at 812-463-3199, or they can email me at ebar@waterstonemortgage.com.
Yeah, and I'll throw my email in there too. That's butlercommercial@gmail.com. Or if you just want to see our listings and some other things about the team, go to thecharliebutlerteam.com. But talking about mortgages,
yes,
we have a special guest today, and at least he thinks he's special anyway. We've had him on before, and honestly, I don't want to blow his head up too big because it's big enough already. But one of the more knowledgeable guys that I know, and I know I've had several guys, and this in my business, in our business. And no offense to you, Evie, or any other mortgage broker, they say, if Derek would come back down here and start, doing loans, we want to go to him,
Yes, and I won't be offended by that too much.
And so the regional director for Waterstone Mortgage, Derek Danks. Good morning, Derek.
Morning, Charlie. Thanks for having me. Those are some pretty kind words. I appreciate it.
And all true. We were talking off air, Derek. We'll just dive right in here.
Okay.
Of course, we had it looks like what's going to be quite a change in Washington, with soon to be President Trump.
Right.
And in your eyes, I know you really stay abreast of the national things very well, and I often call you about that stuff. How do you see that affecting the mortgage industry and the housing industry?
Well, I think long term it kind of probably remains to be seen what the overall effect will be. Now, we've been kind of floating from a rate standpoint. By floating, I mean we're in a range where rates haven't got much lower than a certain number, and they haven't got much higher than that number. So, those of the people that were watching the election coverage, there was a lot of talk about what the stock market was doing that night and what it's done since. And, that night was really about the unknown. It was a pretty big surprise, and surprises don't normally play very well in the stock market or the bond market. Yeah. So, I think long term, it's probably going to be really, really good for real estate and mortgages. A couple weeks ago, I was reading an article, and it basically was the article was mortgage rates have skyrocketed. And it was mortgage rates that skyrocketed to 4%. So, you don't really think of the sky as being 4%. And, you're probably not old enough to remember this, Charlie, but I am. The rates used to be a lot higher than that.
Yeah.
A lot of double-digit rates out there, and you weren't getting a mortgage without paying points, and, down payment requirements were a lot more. So
I do remember, though, and I think I've probably told you this story. When Fast Eddie's was here, a lot of the bigger local investors had lunch every Thursday at Fast Eddie's, compare what the banks were doing, things like this. And won't name names here, but an investor you and I both know walks in, and he was late. And one of the guys said, "Where you been?" And he said, "I just been to XYZ Bank, And he said, "I just got it." Now, that's several years ago.
Right.
But not that many. He said, "I just got a 9.5 there." Everybody's grabbing their business cards. Who do I need to talk to over there? And you remember when if somebody walked in and said they'd get a 9.5 rate, that's a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I remember back when the way people telemarketed in the mortgage business was they just went through the white pages and called people and said, "Do you own the home?"
That.
And if the answer was yes, they were in a double-digit rate, and they could refinance down into the 8% range, and it was savings, and it was pretty easy. One of the things you and Evie were talking about earlier, and there's a lot of changes in the mortgage business from a technology standpoint, internet companies, and I was saw an engagement with the largest internet lending company there is, and they're trying to do all their mortgages online and all that. And one of the things that their president was talking about is that their surveys are telling them that people in the marketplaces around the country demand a subject matter expert, and that they don't see any way to replace that person. So, it's what you guys were talking about earlier, the real estate agent that can explain to a client what the area is and the true value of a home so they're not overpaying, the mortgage person that can help people navigate through all the different things you have to navigate through to get a mortgage these days. All those people are invaluable during the process. And, as a client or a home buyer, a home seller, making sure that you're dealing with one of those experts, it'll save you a lot of money because it's a pretty complicated business.
And I'm glad you brought that up because something I was reading an article, I'm pretty sure it was in Inman the other day, which for those that don't know, that's kind of, that's one of the top trade publications in real estate. So you were talking about still needing that local expert. And they were talking about that on the real estate side now, that internet companies, for sale owner companies, were nationally at an all-time low in market share.
Right.
And for that very reason that and they think, especially with the millennials they say, want more service.
Right.
And you've been to some of our events where some of the we have some of the top producers from around the country, the guys like Mark Spain and Adam Merrick and people like this, and they they're doing $300 million a year in some cases in real estate sales, and they're saying, then they tell me the biggest change they've seen in the industry is they've had to get better on their customer service, that the customer experience has become so important.
Right, and that makes a lot of sense. And, as you talk about a millennial buyer, it's a buyer that's, they're going to do a lot more research than buyers used to do. Now, the ability to do that research is at your fingertips in a lot greater way than it used to be. Okay, you couldn't just, today you could pull your cell phone out and look up a lot of mortgage information, right? Mm-hmm. But I always try to explain it to people like this, that I could look up how to do, repair on my refrigerator, and I could read a lot about it, and I might have all the information, but I may not necessarily be able to do it without blowing something up. So I do think that somebody that can bring all of that information together in a way that that buyer who's shopping and it's gathering information can understand. And not just that they can understand it, but that, when they're talking to Evie's going to explain to them how it benefits them in their personal situation. And everybody's situation is different. There's a lot of things that go into what type of mortgage you're going to get, when you're going to buy, did it cost you money to wait? And, your original question about where rates are going to go and how this is going to affect the real estate market, historically, every time rates have went up, the number of homes that were sold went up in lockstep with those rates. And it's mostly because more people are buying homes when they feel secure about their jobs and their savings. So we're already seeing some of that with the run that the stock market went on early. A lot of portfolios, large management portfolios, have a much bigger component of cash than they've ever had over the last few years. So, some of the things that President-elect Trump proposes, whether it be tax reduction, some infrastructure plans, those kind of things could really be beneficial to the real estate market. And, it could help sellers' values go up. It could help buyers find more affordability. A lot of different things.
Yeah, I can see that. And one of the other things, while there were several things running through my mind, I wanted to ask you while we were talking about this, but a lot of people here, they've been hearing all the campaign speeches from, both Donald Trump and Hillary, and where one of the things that President-elect Trump has said consistently, he wants to repeal Dodd-Frank.
Right.
Do you? And I'm sure some of the people out there listening have heard that. You want to, and just in a nutshell, without getting too, explain what Dodd-Frank is and how that will affect the overall home buying and mortgage industry.
Right. So my guess is that being able to repeal it completely is probably not going to happen. There's some legislation that's already written that would modify it somewhat. So, the biggest difficulty that the mortgage industry's had with Dodd-Frank over the first couple of years is there were some parts of it that answering what it really meant, it was really difficult to get that answer. Okay.
Right.
So at the ground level, at my level, I know what all the disclosures mean and we can explain it to clients. On the servicing level and who buys mortgage loan pools, there was a lot of difficulty and a lot of apprehension about that law. In any business, regulations, difficulty, apprehension, all those things add cost, right? So Dodd-Frank's added a lot of cost to the mortgage industry. I do think there are some disclosures that it was time to change the disclosures. It was time to make the forms more user-friendly. So there are good parts of it, like there always is with most of the legislation that's out there. So I think you're going to see some modification to it. I doubt you're going to see it be repealed completely.
Okay. Evie, we've been doing all the talking. We've kind of left you over there.
He speaks so well for the mortgage industry. I figured just let him run.
We're talking about, Derek, we're talking about loan pools and talking about the overall industry. For the people that are watching, or watching. Nobody's watching except we're watching each other, but listening. How in your mind, I know if you're looking at your crystal ball, how do you think President-elect Trump, as far as home buying, mortgage industry, how do you think that affects him?
Well, it's an interesting thing because I think without, I don't know that guy like anybody else, but from what you see on the outside, he's a builder, right? I mean, he's always built things. He tries to build things bigger and better. And, I would just think that he'd feel pretty comfortable talking to the Builders Association or the Realtors Association because he understands real estate. And, he understands the difficulty that regulations and some of those things pose for the real estate industry. So, I think that could be positive for us. I saw one of his advisors, Wilbur Ross, on Yahoo Finance saying that the works projects that they have and that they propose, the revenue just for like people's incomes, they're talking about wages. His proposals are almost $880 billion in wages over the next 10 years.
I saw that actually, yeah.
So, you put wages in and people make more money on their savings and they're making more money and they start to buy things and they feel more comfortable buying a home. They feel more comfortable dealing with that mortgage payment. The thing that really will affect us and the overall thing, and, it's like any business. We have little shortcuts that we look at, right? I mean,
sure.
If you're worried about rates, the thing that pushes rates up is inflation. A lot of inflation, because that deteriorates the value of a bond over time. So, we're going to have some inflation. That's going to be good. It's going to be one of those things where rates are going to continue to go up a little bit. For us, in our marketplace, and my marketplace is the state of Indiana and part of Kentucky, right? So it's about affordability. This is one of the most affordable housing markets in the country and will be for quite a while.
No doubt, yeah.
And, I always look at charts that graph median home price against median income levels. There are cities all over the country where the median income level currently will not buy the median home. So there's large groups of people in some of these marketplaces that they already can't afford the normal price of a home. That's not the case in Evansville. It's not the case really anywhere in Indiana.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Because a question just popped in my mind that I know people ask me all the time.
Right.
Okay. How do these people, and we'll just use San Francisco as an example.
Okay.
You talk about median price, median income. How do they afford those homes? We all see like the HGTV stuff and things like that where, a home that we would sell for $125,000, $700,000 or $800,000.
Right.
Or more maybe. How do they afford those homes?
So, there's a couple things. A lot of those marketplaces, people are using an ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage so they can get a lower rate. In some of those areas, and a place like San Francisco is considered a high-cost mortgage market. So you can do some of the normal conforming FHA programs at a much higher interest rate, so it allows for a lower down payment and kind of adds to affordability that way also. And, some of those mortgage programs also allow for higher debt-to-income ratios. So you're going to have a larger income. And think about it from this standpoint, is that if a lender's telling you, hey, your debt-to-income ratio, how much debt you have in relation to your income needs to be less than, say, 50%, right?
Right.
If you make $2,000, you're left with $1,000. It's not a lot to spend, right? If you're in a market like San Francisco where the average person might make $140,000 a year or $12,000 a month, you're left with $6,000. So, some of it then turns into dollars so you can figure out affordability. So we have lenders that may take a little bit more risk in some of those higher priced marketplaces.
And I had an investment client tell me one time, we were having this conversation, and I noticed with a lot of these clients that were coming out here, they all on their, would talk about they drove BMWs, they drove Mercedes, they drove really nice cars. And I made the comment, I said, it's like everybody out there drives a nice car. He said, you don't understand. He said, here, your house is a status symbol. He said, out there, it's our car because we can't afford that house.
Right. Right.
And those same guys, and you wouldn't believe how many times this has happened, and I know we've had this conversation. They'll come out here, L.A., San Francisco, Phoenix, wherever, and they're buying investment property here. And like the first night they're here, they'll be driving around, I'll invariably get a call. And they'll say, what do people do here? What'd you say again people do here?
Right.
And I go through Toyota, I'll call, no. It says, what do people do where all these $5 million homes, I said, where you at? I can remember. one time in particular. They said, "Well, we're in Thornbrook, nice subdivision in Newburgh, 300,000 to 400,000." Right. And I tell them that, and they go, "Well, in L.A., these would be $5 million."
Right.
Yep.
Well, we can't move them to L.A. is the thing, So, so it's all, as you said, it's all perception.
100%. That's that's why I'd rather live in Evansville than L.A.
Yeah.
That, and we have the fall festival.
You can't. That's right up there at the top. I can guarantee that.
And Derek's an old West Sider
yes,
too.
He is.
So we'll give him up here on that. But
Derek, I know one thing we were talking about earlier this week is how affordable the Evansville area is. And and why now is the right time to buy instead of waiting until the spring, and what that can cost somebody.
Right. So, we get all this different information, and it's good to look at a lot of it. And, I saw a chart the other day that it's basically the cost of waiting, and it takes into a couple different things into account, and it's looking at home prices are continue to appreciate and what mortgage rates are doing, and a lot of those different things that up front, people just internalize them. And by that, I mean they go out and they look at the house when they're looking at it, and they don't think much about the fact that when they could have bought a house 6 months ago, the house was a little bit cheaper and rates were a little bit better. And all those things weigh out over time. And usually when you calculate it for people, it's a much larger number than they think. And by much larger, I mean that house ended up costing them $30,000 or $40,000 over their lifetime more than it could have, because those things add up. And, it's not just a matter of I paid a little bit more. If I'd paid less, I'd have more equity when I go to sell my home, which is cash for me, and those kind of things. So right now, we're in a really affordable marketplace. Now, from affordability standpoint, and it's as rates started trickling up, everybody's putting charts out now that show at what rate does affordability start to get affected in our marketplace, right?
Right.
And the beautiful part of that answer is it's a rate of north of 8%.
Wow.
I mean, that tells you how affordable Evansville and the surrounding area is, right? And you take Evansville, for example. When I moved to Indianapolis, people in Indianapolis don't get it. Okay, they don't get what the difference for the highway would be. They don't get that people on the south side of Indianapolis might open a office of their business in Louisville before Evansville because of the difficulty of getting here. So the opportunities that are coming to Evansville, when we come down to do the radio show and you see the river, you see what downtown is and the beauty of the city, a lot of these other cities, you're not going to just build your own river, right?
Yeah.
And you can't really copy the fall festival. So
No, at least not from a west side. I know that.
It's not possible. So, it's people in this marketplace, like a lot of marketplaces around the country, should be excited about the direction things are going to be going. So,
Evie and I talk about this a lot, and I'm sure you see us too. It's usually a good deal for people. Let me back up. A lot of people want to buy in the winter. They want to buy a house now,
right?
They don't want to, and it's a hard time. We have a hard time getting sellers to see that. So I'll wait till the spring. Well, you're competing with everybody else there.
Right.
You wait till the spring, but there's still a buyer pool out there now.
Right. I think that's 100% right. And I think the people that are doing those transactions, that irregardless of what the weather are, they're serious about it. They're serious buyers. They're serious sellers. And, it's a beneficial thing, I think, to both to be in the market during that time.
Also think about the cost of waiting for the interest rates, because since the election, the interest rates have been going up. So who knows what they're going to do at the beginning of the year. If you're going to have to sell and then buy a new house, you might as well put it on the market now and try and get in while the rates are lower than what they might be at the beginning of the year.
That's right.
And real quick, Derek, and I know we're under a minute now, but what do you say to those people that when you call them to list their home? So I'd love to list my home. I know the market's good, but I just refied a couple years ago, and I pull that cash out.
Right. So are they wanting to wait because of that? Yeah. And I think it's like anything else. You buy a house for a reason, right?
Right.
You were going to have kids, and now you find out you're having triplets, and a 2-bedroom home won't work. You got to raise at work, all these different things. So I think you got to look at it of, does it still make sense for you to buy a home? And if you refi, that may be part of your equation, but it probably shouldn't be.
Yeah. Derek, thank you very much.
Thanks, Charlie.
Evie, great, as always. And we're out of time. Charlie Butler saying have a great weekend.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Show on WGBF AM with the guy who guarantees to sell your home or he'll buy it himself, Charlie Butler. Join us every week at this time to find out how to sell your home quickly and for more money. For more information, email cbutler@kw.com or visit charliebutlerteam.com.